Game заречки.
YouTube, this is your boy Up Sick Tay coming with you with another episode of The Patriot Way. This is episode 7, and we will be breaking down the game plan. In this installment of the game plan, we will be focusing on the New York Jets. So let's take a dive into their player spotlight. First up on the player spotlight, we will be focusing on the hard-hitting, playmaking safety, Jamal Adams.
Then I'm kind of disguising it. I'm showing on the line and I'm backing up, and he tries to kill the play, but at the same time, it was a dummy call. And right here, I'm just coming off the end, and I just make a hell of a play. Sack fumble. Wish we got the fumble, but it was just a hell of a play. Just effort and pursuit to the ball.
A strip sack for Jamal Adams at a 6-yard look.
Good second effort by Jamal Adams to chase him down.
I saw a tweet where he said he went and missed another Pro Bowl. This was last year, and he made his first one this year.
Jamal Adams hit his target in more ways than one.
As we take a look at the LSU product, coming in at 6'1", 213 pounds at the age of 23 years old, he is already starting to make his stamp on the league, coming in with the abilities of reinforcement, enforcer, and under pressure, meaning that he can be a playmaker in the passing game, the running game, and even when he comes on blitzes. His attributes will be at a 91 speed, 90 acceleration, 92 zone coverage, 86 man, 95 hit power, 92 player recognition, and 90 awareness, meaning he's a playmaker all over the field, and we have to key on him on every down. Next player in today's spotlight will be Le'Veon Bell. As we take a look at the 6-year product out of Michigan State, Le'Veon Bell has been one of the best running backs in the league since stepping foot in the league. Last year, he had a down year behind a very porous New York Jets offensive line, but that does not take away from the fact that Le'Veon Bell is a factor at all times. He comes in with the ability of spin cycle, and also with the rating of 89 speed, 91 juke, 89 spin move, 87 trucking, 91 stiff arm. And he also has 76 catching, 81 short route running, and 77 catching traffic, which makes Le'Veon one of the most complete running backs in the game. So every time he's on the field, we have to pay attention to how they're using him, because he can also come out the backfield and kill our linebackers. So that's it for the player spotlight segment. Now we take you to breaking down the New York Jets. All right, here we are looking at the New York Jets. They are 1-1 on the season, number 18 in the power rankings in the league. Their offensive yardage have been 436 passing, 194 rushing so far in the season. But the main thing that we pay attention to is the points per game, which is 22 and a half. 22 and a half, meaning they're even scoring more points than we are so far in the season. They have accumulated 4 passing touchdowns and 2 rushing touchdowns. As we go over to the defensive side of the ball, they have given up 557 yards in the air, 244 on the ground, and 47 total points so far in the season. Breaking that down, that gives them about 23.5 points per game. that's the biggest part that we're going to be paying attention to, because our previous opponent was the Miami Dolphins, and they were giving up around 27.5 points per game. So that means the Jets, even though their points per game is not as high, but we can still score points on them. So the goal going into this week is to have at least 3 touchdowns. We get 3 touchdowns against them, that increases our chances of winning. So as we take back out of the overall team stats, we're going to focus on the key players that they like to utilize on their team. Coming out, we have Sam Darnold. He is having a very, very good year so far. 63 completion percentage. Yards per game is 216, and with a QBR of 112. He also has 4 touchdowns with no interceptions, with very, very good yardage of 432 yards so far in just 2 games. His top running back is going to be Le'Veon Bell, like we mentioned before in the player spotlight. He's averaging 63 yards per game, which is not too good, but he is getting 4.7 yards per carry. So whenever he does touch the ball, he is picking up very, very good yardage. So we have to make sure that we're focusing on the run on early downs. They do have Frank Gore, but as you can see, with a 3.3 yards per carry and 15 points per game, he's not really a factor in their game plan. Moving on to the receiving core, their big playmaker is Quincy Enunwa. He's leading the team in yardage, catches, and touchdowns. They did pick up Brashard Perriman from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the offseason, but as you can see, he's not really a focal point in their offense as of yet, as they like to use Enunwa and Jamison Crowder. But like we mentioned before in the player spotlight, we have to keep an eye on Le'Veon Bell, because 118 yards for a running back, that is a lot in the receiving game. As we take a look at their offensive line, it's pretty subpar so far in the season. They've given up 5 sacks, which is basically all over the offensive line. Nowhere I can say is a specific weakness of the team, just all around their subpar unit. So I like our defensive pressures to get home during the game. As we transition to the defensive side of the ball, the team leader in tackles is CJ Mosley, and the leader in TFLs is Quinnen Williams. You can see the difference right here between what we saw last week with the Dolphins and the Jets. Their leader in TFLs is in the front 7. With the Dolphins, their leader in TFLs was in the secondary, which was bad, which is what we exploited. So by us seeing that right here, that their front 7 is pretty strong against the run, we're going to be focusing more on the passing game. As we go ahead and take a look at their sack contributors, which is pretty decent. They have about 5 sacks on the season, and it's coming from a lot of different contributors. So it's not like we can say, okay, let's just key in on one person and we neutralize their pressures. We have to pay attention on every down, who's coming and who's not coming, so we can set up the protection properly on passing down. As far as interception goes, they only have 1 person with interception, and that's a linebacker in Jordan Willis. And as we look at their forced fumbles, only 1 forced fumble so far in the season, and that is from Jamal Adams. So their team on defense doesn't really create a lot of turnovers, but they are very sound. They do attack the run game very, very well, and whenever the teams drop back to pass so far this season, they are getting home. So as we take a look at their 3rd down percentage so far this season, they are 43% 3rd down team, which is 4% lower than what we are. So as long as we put them in 3rd and 8s or more, we have a higher chance of winning. As we look at their red zone efficiency, they're pretty subpar. They've made 5 trips to the red zone, only converted 2 of those into touchdowns, and their defense is not that good in the red zone either. With out of 5 trips to the red zone defensively, 4 have went to touchdowns, 1 field goal. As we move on to look at their penalties, they have accumulated 10 penalties so far on the season, with a whopping total of 85 yards. So they're not only just getting penalties, but they're averaging 8.5 yards per penalty, which is very, very bad. And as a turnover team, they're doing very well. They're not turning over the ball that much, but they have taken away the ball twice, which gives them a turnover differential of +1. As for us, we are -1 because we have lost a lot of fumbles. That's the main thing that we need to work on ourselves. So as we conclude the team breakdown of the New York Jets, we're gonna go head into the practice mode to come up with the game plan. All right, guys, as we sit down with the defensive coordinator, he has presented his idea of what the game plan should be this week. He said that the New York Jets offensive scheme is a zone run scheme, and they run the ball 58% of the time. Last week when we faced the Dolphins, they were, I believe, a 52% running team, so they were more balanced. But the New York Jets, they are a very run heavy team, and they like to run inside the gaps. So the main thing that we will be paying attention to when we are on defense is focusing on closing those runs inside. And looking at the game plan presented to us from the offensive coordinator, it says that the New York Jets like to run the 3-4 scheme, and they like to blitz. They're a very blitz heavy team, and as we saw when we was doing the team breakdown, they have accumulated a good amount of sacks so far on the season, which backs up the findings of the offensive coordinator. So one of the things we're going to be focusing on going into practice is whenever we are passing the ball, we're going to spread them out so we can have a good idea who's coming and who's not on passing downs. And the concepts that we're mainly going to be running against them is going to be the mesh and stick. So right now, guys, we're going to be transitioning to practice mode as we continue to build the game plan. Alright, guys, we're now in practice. We're going to be focusing on first the offensive breakdown that we have against the New York Jets, as we saw that they love to blitz. So the game plan going into this week, we'll be focusing on mesh and the stick concept. But when we are running these mesh and stick concepts, we are going to spread them out so that we can see who's blitzing and who's not blitzing, because they're a very blitz heavy team. Staying on the center in this matchup is not going to be as ideally because they can disguise easily and when we come out in more compressed formations. So to start off first, we're going to be running the pistol bunch tight end cross drag. So as we spread them out right here, you can see that they have a single high safety. So this is a 3-man shell, a 3-deep shell, basically like a cover 3, where you have thirds. You have the 2 outside corners playing thirds and the deep safety playing a third. But with the 2 coming down in the middle, you can tell right here that McCourty, basically the defensive back with the X underneath, is going to be blitzing, and Duggar, the one on the left side of the middle linebacker, is going to be blitzing because they came down. So the read is going to be Bird or Lee. Bullet pass inaccurate. That's a bad pass. As we go into practice, we're going to see what took place on this. So as we look, the 2 reads that we mentioned was going to be Bird and Lee. But as we look at the play as it develops, Walker was the first one that got open. So by Walker being the first one that got open, now we know going into when we face a cover 3 blitz, our first read should be Walker. Walker should be our first read. If he's covered, then we pay attention to Bird and Lee. We're not neglecting Edelman coming on the deep date. So to make sure that we can utilize this concept, we're going to always make sure that we are keeping whoever the running back in on that down blocking, so that Cam can have enough time to utilize that concept. All right, so the next play we're going to be focusing on against when they blitz is going to be the stick concept. The stick concept is an option play for the tight ends, with the outside receivers either going on an out route or a flat route to pull away the zones. So this one we're going to be running a gun tight offset tight end stick concept. So in this one, when we see two safety shell, but you can tell right here that they're blitzing just by how that's the safety off the right side of the field, the one that's right above Walker, he's ready. So we already know that the first read on this play is going to be Walker, and Lee should pull away the corner that's in front of him with the M. So Walker should be our first read. If Walker is not open, then we look for Edelman. All right, so as we look at the play to break it down and see what happened. So as you can see right here, both the safety and the corner blitz on this play. So even though Walker was where the pass went to, the first read should have been Lee. Lee wide open in the flat, that's an easy 5 yards right there. And then Walker. So the reason why the play was even made by the safety is because it was a quick read and he just basically went to his first step. So by him guessing right, which is the way he was supposed to go anyways, because he's basically filling in the void left by the two blitzers, by him coming over this side. So in all actuality, Walker should have never sat down on this play. Walker should have actually keep running. He should have never sat down. He should have kept going on his the second part of his option, which is an out route. If he would have kept going, he would have been wide open, and he possibly could have had a blocker to pick up Stephon Gilmore for a run after the catch. So that's going to be something that we're going to keep running in practice to perfect, so that in game we don't have miscues like this. Because instead of it being a swat, it could have easily been an INT. All right, so that concludes the offensive game plan going into week 3 against the New York Jets. Now we're going to transition to the defensive side of the ball to work on our run defense. All right, guys, so now we're on the defensive side of the ball. The main focus today is going to be against 12 personnels, 11 personnel. So against 12 and 11 personnel, that's basically one running back, one tight end, one running back, two tight ends. We're going to be running 3-4 bear. We're going to be running 3-4 bear, single back A slot. Since it is it's not a symmetrical alignment, you're going to have two receivers on the left hand side. So that basically gives the right side of the field a lot of open. But since we know that the Jets like to run inside plays, we're going to focus on putting as many people as we can in the box and trusting that our corners can cover the receivers if they do decide to pass out of these formations. So the first thing that we did on that play was we crashed everybody down. We pinched the defense, which is L1 on PlayStation 4 and down, and that brought everybody closer to the line of scrimmage. So now in the box, you can see we have our 3 linemen, which is 3, and we have our 4 linebackers right here. And then we have the strong safety also in the box. So that gives us 8 in the box, and the free safety, he's about 10 yards away from the line of scrimmage, which is very, very good. Gives him a better chance of reacting to the run. So we're going to take a look right quick and see what took place once the ball was snapped. So as you can see right now, the two inside guards received great push off the ball, but by the free safety being so close to the line of scrimmage, he was able to slide through the cracks. By him doing that, it freed up the corner right here, and we also received a great block shed by Winovich. So by these things taking place, it forced Michel to break to the outside. So by Gilmore being freed up off his block, it allowed him to pursue the ball and McCourty, which McCourty in then made a very, very great play in ripping the ball from Michel. Can't ask for anything better on run defense. We not only forced the running back to change course, but we also attacked the ball and created a turnover. All right, guys, so next up in our breakdown, whenever they come out in 13 personnel, or you can basically say not 13, but 10 personnel, which is just one running back, no tight ends, or basically 11 personnel, but this time it's going to be one running back, one tight end, and 3 wide receivers. We're going to be coming out in the nickel 3-3-5 wide, but we're going to be running the same concept as we did in the 3-4 bear, cover one contain. So as you can see with the alignment of the gun, trips, tight end, flex coming out in this formation, it looks like, okay, you got to be ready for the pass. Like, everybody's spread out, so the defense will be preparing for the pass. But with that being said, if they run the ball, there's basically nobody there to help against the run. So what we're going to do, we're going to pinch the line. We're going to crash, tell the defense to crash inside, but we still going to have our outside linebackers right here, just in case he tries to cut outside. So right now we have, by us crashing down, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the box, and we still have our free safety 10 yards from the line of scrimmage. So that's basically the look that we're going to be trying to present to the Jets whenever they come out in 11 personnel or 10 personnel. Great play. So now we're going to go to the film and break down what just took place. All right, guys, so as you can see, as I was mentioning before, we always going to try to create a 7 or 8 man box whenever we're facing the New York Jets coming up this week, because the main focus is going to be stopping Le'Veon Bell. We stop Le'Veon Bell, we're going to eventually force Sam Darnold to beat us, which is, I would like my chances if that happens. So on this one, they're in a 11 personnel, which is 1 running back, 1 tight end. But in this 11 personnel, they have 3 wide receivers. So by them having 3 wide receivers, we have to pay respect to that, because they can also throw out of this formation. So we came out in the nickel 3-3-5 ride. That also gives us coverage, but we run in the cover one contain concept, which is also going to give us a lot of help on the front. So by us pinching the line, we created a 7-man look, and by us also having the safety, which is McCourty, 10 yards from the line of scrimmage, he has enough time to react to when the ball is snapped. So we're going to take a look at what took place that occurred that allowed McCourty to make a 1-yard tackle. So as you can see how the defense flowed right here, we basically told the defensive line to crash inside. So by the defensive line crash inside, and we still have Uche right here running on the outside contain, just in case they were trying to run like a outside zone. This freed up this gap right here. This thing just allowed me to move it the way I want to move it. Well, basically the gap between the left tackle and the left guard, it freed up the gap. So McCourty, understanding his run fit, he knows there's only one gap left for James White to run through. This side is clamped up. For him to try to make a cutback right here would be almost impossible to do, but then he would have to deal with Gilmore coming in on the back end side, which is our force defender. So it made it very, very easy for McCourty to fill in the gap right here, because that's the only place White could have went. Now, if White would have tried to bounce it outside, like from right here, let's say he would have tried to bounce it this way, that wouldn't have been ideal either, because again, McCourty would have had a free run to the ball. And not only that, as you're taught in football, you always try to run to the inside of your blocker. So as you see right here, Isaiah Wynn is blocking inside. Okay, meaning you have to run to the inside butt of your offensive line. So his left tackle and left guard, they're both blocking their guys to the outside. So by just following fundamentals and the way the play is drawn up, he has to go this right here. So it's on White to make a play to gain additional yardage, because now he's one-on-one with the safety. But McCourty, being a Pro Bowler as he is, he made a solid tackle. And by that time, we already had JC coming. He beat his block right here. And we also had Gilmore, who was free the entire play. Like, he was untouched. As you follow Gilmore, the whole play he was untouched. So that's gonna be the defense that we basically is gonna be running whenever the New York Jets come out in 11 personnel or 10 personnel, to give us not only good coverage on the back end, but also a lot of people in the box. All right, guys, so this is gonna be the final rough draft of the game plan, going over everything that we've learned so far, from breaking down the New York Jets as a team, individually and schematically. So the main thing that we've learned is they're very good against the run. So going into this week, we're going to focus on spreading them out. We're going to spread them out, and by the shell that they're in, whether it's a 3 deep shell, which means a single high safety, or a 2 deep shell, meaning 2 high safeties, will determine whether we run the mesh concept or the stick concept. But if we do see favorable matchups, we will run the ball, but that's not going to be our main focus, because they're very strong against the run. And we have to make sure we pay attention to Jamal Adams, because with his ability of enforcer, he can cause fumbles at any given moment. On defense, we're going to be focusing on stopping the run. That's going to be our main focus. Stop the run. We're going to be focusing on the 3-4 bear and the nickel 3-5 wide whenever they come out on first and second down or short yardage situations, because the main goal going into this week is to force the New York Jets to convert long third downs, like 3rd and 8 and more, which by the stats it shows that they're not good at that. So those are the 2 main game plans going into this week against the New York Jets. Hopefully this can lead to a W, and we can continue the winning streak and take hold of the division. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Game Plan, and until next time, stay safe, stay blessed, peace and love.